Once upon a time, nestled between rolling hills and the vast ocean, there existed a small coastal village that was known for two things: their delicious seafood and their sturdy ships. For generations, these ships had braved the wild waves of the endless sea, bringing bountiful catches to the village and ensuring their prosperity. But one day, a violent storm swept across the horizon, shattering this peaceful rhythm. It was a force of nature that neither the old fishermen nor their weathered ships had ever witnessed. When the sun finally peeked through the clouds the next morning, the village's fishing fleet was nowhere to be seen. In their place were splintered pieces of wood and a heavy silence that settled over the seaside town like a shroud. One fisherman, however, never returned alone. His daughter, a spirited young girl named Liana, waited anxiously at the shore for his return. Days turned into weeks, yet there was no sign of her father or the others. Whispers began to circulate around the village, weaving tales of an evil sea curse that had swallowed up the fishermen. Fear became a tangible presence, seeping into the homes and hearts of the villagers. Many started to believe that the endless sea had grown tired of their boats trespassing its waters and was now taking its revenge. Liana, however, refused to let fear take root in her heart. She didn't believe the sea was evil. Her father, a man with eyes as blue as the summer sky and a laugh that boomed like the crashing waves, had taught her the ways of the sea. He'd shared with her stories of its moods, how to read its whispers, and respect its strength. Most of all, he'd instilled in her a deep sense of wonder for the ocean's mysteries. Liana's spirit was as untamable as the sea itself. She yearned to understand what had happened to her father and the other fishermen. She couldn't bear the thought that they were lost forever. One evening, as the sun was setting over the endless sea, casting long shadows across the beach, Liana decided she couldn't wait any longer. She wanted answers. With a basket of fish and a heart full of determination, she set off down the coast, away from the prying eyes and worried murmurs of the townspeople. As she walked, the sound of the waves grew louder, their rhythm echoing the pounding of her heart. Suddenly, the sound of the waves changed, becoming softer, almost melodic. She stopped and listened intently. Then, as if beckoning her forward, the waves began to sing. Curious, Liana followed the sound, her gaze fixed on the churning waters ahead. The waves led her to a part of the coastline she'd never explored before. There, hidden between towering rock formations, was a cave veiled by a curtain of cascading water. Sunlight filtering through the gaps in the rocks illuminated tiny particles dancing in the air, creating a magical spectacle that both awed and intrigued her. Hesitantly, Liana stepped inside. The moment she did, the cave seemed to come alive. The walls shimmered with an ethereal blue light, and the air grew warm, enveloping her in a comforting embrace. In the center of the cave, suspended between the rocky walls, was a sight that took Liana's breath away. It was a gigantic pearl, radiating a gentle, mesmerizing glow. But it wasn't just the pearl that captivated her attention. Emerging from the pearl was a magnificent humanoid figure. At first, Liana could only make out a hazy silhouette, but as the glow intensified, the figure became clearer, revealing itself to be a woman of breathtaking beauty. Her skin was the color of moonlight, her hair flowed like liquid silver, and her eyes twinkled like distant stars. She emanated a serene, almost otherworldly charm that both intrigued and intimidated Liana. But as Liana continued to stare, she noticed something that made her gasp. The woman's arms were chained, binding her to the pearl. And as she watched, a single tear rolled down the woman's face, shimmering like a diamond, before disappearing into the depths of her silky hair. The sight tugged at Liana's heartstrings, awakening a surge of compassion within her. She knew she had to help, but how could she break the chains that bound the mysterious woman? With newfound determination, Liana approached the woman, her heart pounding in her chest. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice echoing softly in the cavern. The woman turned her head slowly, her star-like eyes meeting Liana's gaze. "I am the sea spirit," she said, her voice like the gentle lapping of waves on a sandy shore, "and I have been trapped here by humans many years ago." Liana felt a surge of empathy. To think that such a kind and beautiful being could be imprisoned filled her with a deep sense of sorrow. As the sea spirit recounted her tale, Liana learned that the humans of the past, driven by fear and greed, had shackled the spirit to the pearl, believing it would keep the sea calm and ensure their dominance over the waters. But in truth, the sea spirit was not an embodiment of chaos and destruction, but a symbol of the ocean's untamed power, a force of nature to be respected, not feared. Liana's gaze fell upon the chains binding the sea spirit, and an idea sparked within her. She reached out and gently touched the cold, hard metal. It was then that Liana remembered her father's words. The sea is a living, breathing entity, Liana. It has its own language, its own story. If you listen with an open heart, it will share its wisdom with you. Taking a deep breath, Liana closed her eyes and began to hum. It was a simple tune, something she used to sing with her father when he'd come home from his voyage. As the melody filled the cave, the chains holding the sea spirit began to glow faintly. Intrigued, Liana continued to sing, her voice echoing through the cavern. With each note she sang, the glow intensified, wrapping around the chains like a warm embrace. The sea spirit watched in wonder as Liana's song seemed to weave magic, causing the chains to shimmer with an otherworldly light. Suddenly, as if reaching a crescendo, the chains burst into a brilliant white light, blinding Liana momentarily. When she opened her eyes, she gasped. The chains were gone, vanished, as if they'd never been there. The sea spirit was free. Overwhelmed with joy, Liana rushed to the edge of the cave and looked out at the endless expanse of the ocean. As the first rays of sunlight touched the horizon, the sea began to change. The once raging waves calmed, transforming into a gentle, rhythmic lullaby that cradled the shore. The wind, which had been howling like a wounded beast, now whispered secrets through the swaying grass, carrying with it the scent of salt and freedom. As the news of the sea spirit's release spread throughout the village, so did the tale of Liana's bravery and compassion. The villagers, who had lived in fear for so long, finally understood the truth. The sea wasn't cursed. It was merely misunderstood. They had feared and tormented the spirit for no good reason, and in doing so, had brought chaos upon themselves. But now, with the sea spirit freed, peace returned to their lives. They realized that respecting the balance of nature would ensure their harmony with the world around them. From that day on, the sea remained calm and bountiful, providing the village with an abundance of fish and keeping their children safe on the shore. And as for Liana, she was hailed as a hero, yet she remained humble, forever changed by her encounter with the sea spirit. Her spirit, much like the sea, was untamable, her heart brimming with the courage and kindness that had saved her village and restored balance to their world.